This film is intended for eye surgeons for training and education purposes. Viewer discretion is strongly recommended.
Hi, this is Dr. Deepak Megur and welcome back to the channel. Today I want to take you through an interesting and a very educational case, a dense white cataract with occult zonular weakness. Now, this is an elderly male patient who presented with a dense white cataract. At first glance, it looked like a mature cataract, probably of the sclerotic variant. There's hardly any visible cortex. What we had here was an essentially large, dense nucleus sitting inside the capsular bag. The good thing was the pupil was dilating very well. The surgery was planned under a peribulbar anesthesia, and at this stage, there is no obvious warning sign. There is no clear-cut phacoemulsification or iridodonosis, and nothing at the slit lamp to strongly suggest any significant zonular compromise. But as we all know, sometimes the real story begins only after we enter the eye. The side port incisions were made, the anticapsule was stained with trypan blue, and the chamber was formed with OVD. A 2.8 mm incision was then created. Now comes the first important moment in the case. As I touched the anticapsule with the Rexis forceps and attempted to puncture it, I could immediately appreciate that the lens was slightly wobbly. The anticapsule showed subtle folds and wrinkles. Now, these are small signs, but they are critical. This is where we must pause mentally. Many times, the health of the zonules is not fully understood pre-operatively. There may be no obvious phacodonosis or iridodonosis at the slit lamp, but the moment we touch the capsule with the forceps, the bag will tell us the truth. In this case, the capsule was clearly indicating that the zonules were not in the best health. Now the case had changed. It is no longer just a dense white cataract. It's a dense cataract with a suspected generalized zonular weakness. So at this stage, the first priority is to create a good, adequately sized Capsulorhexis in dense nuclei, especially with the zonules compromised. The Rexis becomes even more important. It has to be large enough to allow safe nucleus management, but at the same time controlled enough to maintain an adequate capsular support. The flap was raised carefully, and thankfully I was able to complete a decent sized Rexis. In mature cataract, I usually avoid any irodissection. But in this particular case, the nucleus looked as though it was closely adherent to the capsular bag, and there is no cortex at all. So it was almost like a giant nucleus occupying the entire bag. So I decided to perform a very limited and gentle irodissection. The intention was not to overinflate the bag, but just to release the nucleus from its capsular attachments. After gentle decompression and refilling the chamber with OVD, I made one careful attempt to rotate the nucleus. And fortunately, the nucleus rotated freely, and that was reassuring. Time to proceed with the phaco. In such cases, my usual strategy is often to create a small groove and then convert it to vertical chop. But looking at the density of this nucleus and also considering the zonular status, I changed my plan intraoperatively. So I decided to go ahead with the classical 4-quadrant divide and conquer technique. So at this point, let me stress a couple of important points for the young surgeon. A surgical plan is not a rigid script, it's a flexible roadmap. The eye gives us information at every step, and we must be willing to modify our strategy depending on what the eye is telling us currently. So because the nucleus is dense and the bag is slightly mobile and the zonules are suspect, I felt that a controlled sculpting and controlled nuclear division could be safer. Now, important thing, during sculpting, in this particular case, I'm using my second instrument to stabilize the nucleus and the bag. The key principle here is important. Do not transmit unnecessary mechanical stress to the already compromised zonules. Let the ultrasound do the cutting. Let the second instrument only stabilize. The trenches were gradually deepened, and as I continued sculpting, the classical nucleus striations become visible. Then as the trench deepened further, these striations slowly started to fade away. So this is a very useful intraoperative marker, and as the striations begin to fade away, it's an indirect indication that we are approaching the ideal depth to attempt lateral separation. So at this point, the phaco tip and a long tipped second instrument like a long dialer were placed at the bottom of the trench, and a gentle lateral separation maneuver was performed. The first crack was achieved, the nucleus was rotated carefully, and the same maneuver was repeated until 4 distinct nuclear quadrants were created. Once the nucleus was divided, each piece was brought out of the bag and emulsified in a very controlled manner. The first few fragments came out well, but as the last but one nuclear piece was being emulsified, I noticed something suspicious. There was an area of localized zonular weakness on my right hand side. Since I'm sitting temporarily, the area corresponded roughly between the 3 and 6 o'clock region. From this point onward, my one eye was always watching that area. So this is important. Once you identify a weak zone, you should keep monitoring it throughout the rest of the surgery. The question is not only whether the nucleus is being emulsified, the question also is whether the bag is behaving safely. At this point, I also noticed something abnormal in the iris. In the same quadrant, there appears to be patchy stromal atrophy, almost like an area of iridoschisis, or is it because of an old traumatic change? This made me whether we are dealing with a previous unnoticed trauma. The zonular weakness and the iris changes were in the same region, so trauma was certainly a possibility, or the patient did not give any history of trauma. So the last piece is emulsified, and now so far so good. The case looks still under control. The next critical step, cortex aspiration. As I start aspirating the cortex, the weak area of the bag suddenly moves inward. So this is a very clear warning sign. I had to press the reflex button immediately to release the aspiration and allow the bag to come back. At this moment, I also suspected that vitreous could prolapse from the compromised area. This is a time when we should not wait too long. As soon as the zonular weakness becomes clearly evident, a capsule tension ring should be considered early enough. The bag is filled with cohesive OVD, and this is an important first step. Before inserting the CTR, we want to ensure that the capsule bag is adequately distended with a cohesive OVD. This creates space, opens up the equator of the bag, and reduces stress transmitted to the zonules during CTR insertion. An appropriately sized capsule tension ring was then threaded into the bag. While inserting the CTR, I made sure that the area of weakness was supported early as the ring was being negotiated inside of the bag. A useful tip here: do not push CTR into a partially collapsing bag. First deepen and expand the bag, preferably with a cohesive OVD. Then insert the ring slowly and smoothly in a tangential pattern and never push it posteriorly. And always ensure that the maneuver is very controlled. With the CTR in place, the capsule now becomes much more stable. The planned IOL was then implanted in the bag. However, before concluding the case, I noticed a small vitreous fibril in the area of the zonular weakness. This is another extremely important teaching point. Whenever there is a zonular dialysis or a localized zonular weakness, always actively look for vitreous. Vitreous can silently sneak in through the broken zonular barrier, and if missed, it can lead to an unpleasant post-op experience. We may have inflammation, peaking of the pupil, cystoid macular edema, so on and so forth. I went in with the vitrectomy cutter and took care of a small vitreous strand. The OVD in front and behind the IOL was then aspirated carefully, wounds were hydrated, and the case was closed. On the first post-operative day, there was a significant amount of corneal edema, which was not surprising considering the density of the nucleus and the complexity of the surgery. Thankfully, by the 5th post-operative day, the cornea cleared very well, and at this stage, the iris changes were made much clearly visible. These were patchy areas of stromal atrophy, again raising the possibility of an old trauma or maybe an iridoschisis. So eventually, the patient did well. So, what are the take-home messages from this case? Number 1. Ocular zonular weakness can easily be missed pre-operatively. Sometimes the first real clue appears only when we touch the anticapsule. Second, in a dense, mature or hypermature cataract, especially in elderly patients, we must be mentally prepared for zonular weakness. These cases should not be treated as routine. Third, once you suspect zonular weakness, every maneuver must become gentler. The phaco tip should do the work during sculpting and not the hands. The second instrument should stabilize and not stress the bag. Fourth, choose the nucleus management strategy based on the case in front of you. In this case, although I initially considered a chop technique, the density of the nucleus and the mobility of the bag made a controlled 4-quadrant technique a safer option. Fifth, introduce a CTR at the right time. Do not wait until the bag becomes unstable or beyond the control. But also remember, before inserting a CTR, the bag must be very well expanded with a cohesive OVD. And finally, number 6, never forget to look for vitreous, especially in eyes with zonular weakness. The vitreous can appear quietly and unexpectedly, but if you see it, it's mandatory that we deal it with a cutter. So this case reminds us of a very important surgical truth. The eye may look quiet before the surgery, but the capsule is the one which often reveals the real story. So always watch carefully, respond early, and be ready to change your plan. I hope this case was useful, especially for the young surgeons learning to manage dense cataract and an intraoperative surprise of zonular weakness. That's it. Thank you for your attention.